They identified her by her teeth. 3 weeks after the crash, a dental record from a clinic in Hanover cross-referenced against what they pulled from the wreckage of Coach 7. That's how I found out my daughter was on my train. Not from a phone call, not from a policeman at the door, from a form. A bureaucratic form with a checkbox that said confirmed. I built the wheel that killed her. I drew it. I calculated it. I signed my name to it on a Tuesday afternoon in 1992 because the passengers were complaining about the noise. The noise. God help me, the noise. My name is Klaus Hartmann. I spent 31 years as a mechanical engineer at Vereinigte Schmiedwerke in Bochum. I designed components for railway systems, axles, flanges, load-bearing structures. Unglamorous work, precise work. The kind of work where a decimal point in the wrong column means the difference between a bridge that stands and a bridge that doesn't. In 1992, Deutsche Bahn came to us with a problem. The ICE, Germany's pride, the flagship of European high-speed rail, was too loud. Not dangerously loud, passenger complaint loud, coffee cup vibrating loud. The kind of loud that makes businessmen write letters and travel journalists subtract half a star from their reviews. The solution seemed elegant, simple even. Instead of a solid monoblock wheel, one piece of steel, heavy, rigid, transmitting every vibration straight up through the floor, we would insert a rubber dampening band between the wheel's steel core and its outer rim. The rubber would absorb the micro vibrations. The passengers would drink their coffee in peace. Deutsche Bahn would be happy. We would be paid. I remember the afternoon I completed the cross-section drawing. The rubber band looked almost beautiful on paper, a perfect dark ring nestled between 2 precise circles of machined steel. I showed it to my supervisor, Werner. He looked at it for maybe 30 seconds, nodded, and said, "Clean solution, Klaus. Clean solution." I went home that evening and told my wife, Ingrid, about it. She was still alive then. She laughed and said I was the only man she knew who could make a piece of rubber sound like poetry. She died 2 years later. Cancer. Anna was 17. Anna grew up watching the ice from our apartment window. We lived near the Hanover line. You could see the trains from the kitchen if you pressed your face against the glass. She loved them the way children love things that move fast and look important. When she was small, she used to drag a chair to the window and just watch. White bullet, red stripe, gone. She never told me she was taking the train to Hamburg that week. We had argued 2 days before. The same argument we always had. I wanted her to study engineering. She had chosen literature. I said engineering was a language that built the world. She said literature was the only language that explained why the world was worth building. I didn't have an answer for that. I never did. She hung up. I stared at the phone. I didn't call back. June 3rd, 1998. Wednesday. I was at my desk reviewing a stress report that had nothing to do with wheels, nothing to do with ice, nothing to do with anything that mattered. The radio was on low. At 11:15, the newsreader's voice changed. That specific shift in register that journalists use when something is wrong, when the prepared script has been abandoned. I looked up from my papers.
A high-speed ice train has derailed near the town of Eschede in Lower Saxony. Multiple casualties. Bridge collapse.
I remember thinking, which train? My first thought, God help me, was technical. Which train, which line, which wheel configuration? My second thought arrived about 4 seconds later, and it was not technical at all. I called Anna's student dormitory in Göttingen. No answer. I called her mobile. She had just gotten one, a small gray Nokia. She complained it was too heavy. No answer. I called 3 of her friends whose numbers I had written in a small address book that Ingrid had kept. One of them, a girl named Petra, picked up and said, very quietly, "Herr Hartmann, we've been trying to reach you."
The Bochum 84 wheel. Let me explain what we built, because this is important. This is the thing that needs to be understood. The rubber band, our elegant solution, did not simply sit between the steel components like a washer. It was bonded, compressed, held in place by spring retention clips at intervals around the circumference. Under normal operation, it worked perfectly. It absorbed vibration. It reduced noise. The passengers drank their coffee.
But rubber is not steel. Rubber has memory. Every rotation at 200 kilometers per hour, every expansion under centrifugal force, every thermal cycle from cold northern German mornings to summer afternoons, the rubber remembers all of it. It accumulates. Micro oscillations at the bond interface, cycling stress, fatigue crack initiation growing inward from the contact surface. Inward, away from the ultrasound scanner's angle of approach. We tested the wheel to 1.2 million kilometers. That was our ceiling. That was where the data ended and confidence began. The wheel that failed on June 3rd had traveled 1,789,000 kilometers. We had validated 1.2 million. Deutsche Bahn had run it for 1.789 million. The blueprint had a boundary. The train did not respect it. 4 ultrasound inspections between 1996 and 1998. 4 times a technician ran a scanner along that wheel and found nothing, because the cracks were growing in exactly the direction that made them invisible to the tool. We designed a wheel that could hide its own failure. We didn't know that, but not knowing is not the same as not responsible. At 10:57 and 28 seconds, at kilometer 55.1 on the Hanover-Hamburg line, the rubber band let go. It tore free at 200 kilometers per hour. The centrifugal force alone was enough. 589,000 kilometers past the limit we had defined, the metal fatigue reached its terminal point. The rims separated. It punched through the floor of Coach 1. It jammed between the seats. The train continued. There was no alarm. There was no automatic brake. There was only a passenger named Jörg Dittmann who saw it, grabbed his family, and started walking toward the conductor. He was too far away. There was not enough time. There is never enough time once the blueprint starts to fail. The rim dragged along the track bed. It hit a switch rail at kilometer 60. It threw the switch. Coaches 3 and 4 went left. The bridge came down. 300 tons of concrete and rebar built in the 1960s. Unremarkable. Ordinary. Devastatingly ordinary. It fell on Coach 5 and everything behind it. The dining car, Coach 6, compressed to 15 centimeters. 15 centimeters. Coach 7, Anna's coach, accordion folded into the wreckage. The impact was not a crash in the way you imagine a crash. It was a geometric event, a problem of physics. Space that contained human beings ceased to be space. I drove to Eschede that afternoon. I don't remember the drive. I remember parking on a road that had been cordoned off and a policeman who looked at my face and didn't ask me for identification. I remember the smell, concrete dust, hydraulic fluid, something else I could not name and still cannot. I remember the orange jackets of the rescue workers moving through the white wreckage like flames in snow. I stood at the cordon for a long time. I didn't speak to anyone. What would I have said? I built the wheel. I drew the cross-section. I said it was a clean solution. The inquiry took 4 years. In 2003, 3 engineers received fines of 10,000 euros each for negligence. 10,000 euros. I was not among the 3. My specific contribution to the redesign was considered too early in the chain, too indirect. Legally, I was clear. Legally. I have been to the memorial every June 3rd since they built it. The wall is concrete, smooth, light gray, the color of an engineering drawing. 101 names. I know where hers is without looking. 3rd column, near the bottom. Anna Hartmann, 19 years old, dark hair, yellow jacket. A Walkman and a paperback remark that they found, somehow intact 15 meters from the wreckage. All quiet on the Western Front. She was reading about young people who died because the men above them built a system and called it necessary. I still have the original cross-section drawing. The rubber band looks beautiful on paper. A perfect dark ring. A clean solution. Somewhere right now, a train is moving through the German countryside at 200 kilometers per hour. The new wheels are solid steel. No rubber. No comfort feature. No elegant solution. The passengers complain about the noise. Blueprints decay, but the names on the wall, those are permanent.
Subscribe and help us ensure these stories are never forgotten.